Is Turo still a worthwhile side hustle in 2025? This is a question that I get asked often, so today we're going to address it. But first, I want to remind you guys that my course, the Car Sharing Masterclass, is on sale for Black Friday, and you can use the code BlackFriday275 to get $275 off your purchase of the course from November 1st to November 30th, 2024. Yeah, the entire month. The Car Sharing Masterclass is a robust, very thorough course that teaches you every single thing that you need to know about starting and scaling a car sharing fleet. From how to buy the right cars, how to find below market value deals, how to automate your Turo systems and processes in order to make your business model semi-passive, how to navigate damage claims, communication with guests, issues and maintenance concerns, navigating the terms of service, as well as everything in between. The best part is that the Car Sharing Masterclass is constantly being updated with new information as not only Turo changes their policies, but as I change my business model as well. And as a Car Sharing Masterclass member, you get access to all of the current, new, and old information forever with no extra charges. Not only that, but you also get access to our private Discord, our monthly Zoom calls, and all of our documents and resources, which include things like maintenance trackers and even co-hosting contract templates. The Car Sharing Masterclass also has a sister course called the Car Buying Masterclass, which teaches you everything that you need to know about buying cars, which is great if you're someone who's looking at starting a flipping business, or you want to learn how to avoid depreciation, or if you're just someone who has no idea where to start with buying cars and you need some extra help outside of what the Car Sharing Masterclass has to offer. You can use the code BlackFriday125 to get $125 off that course, also from November 1st to November 30th. We are so incredibly confident with the quality of education that you'll receive with both of these courses that we offer a robust, no questions asked, 30-day money-back guarantee. That way you can give it a try at no risk to you. So if you want to give these courses a try, the link will be down in the description below. It'll also be in the pinned comment section as well. Now, for OG viewers of this channel, you know that this is a topic that I cover every single year, and I have pretty much been doing this since I started YouTube back in 2020. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, while this is a video topic that I enjoy planning, writing, and filming, it's actually one that I have a bit mixed feelings about. And that's because as my channel has grown, I feel an immense obligation to be extremely transparent and honest with you guys when it comes to all things Turo and car sharing, because that's my thing. But being honest and 100% authentic to my true feelings can sometimes be a bit tricky here on YouTube, because especially as my channel has grown, not everyone believes that my intentions are always good. I have many times in the past been accused of being too naively pro Turo. I've been accused of being a Turo plant, and I actually work for Turo, none of which are true. I also have to recognize the giant elephant in the room, which is my course, the Car Sharing Masterclass. I have a financial interest and a financial benefit of people being interested in joining Turo, and that's just the truth. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. And I totally recognize, and I also want to acknowledge the fact that for people watching my channel, that may feel like a real conflict of interest. But before we dive into the actual video, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge the fact that my integrity of this channel and, my integrity as a Turo YouTuber is incredibly important to me. I take the obligation of being honest, transparent, and truthful in my videos incredibly seriously. And part of maintaining the integrity of this channel is to talk about Turo and car sharing in an honest light, regardless of whether that viewpoint is good or bad and whether you guys perceive it as honest or dishonest. There is no amount of course sales or money that would ever convince me to promote car sharing in Turo if I didn't actually feel like it was a good business model worth pursuing. And so that is just my sort of disclaimer for this video, because I don't want it to feel as though I'm just mindlessly promoting something regardless of how I truly feel about it because I want to get a paycheck from course sales, because that is definitely not the case. And so with that out of the way, let's dive into the meat and potatoes of this video, which is Turo worth doing in 2025? Now, I have good things to talk about with Turo in this video. I also have bad things to talk about, and I also have some stuff that I want to address very briefly about where I plan on going with Turo moving forward. First, the good. The truth is, I do still fully believe that Turo is a great side hustle and a great business model to take part in 2025. And while I don't think that this is the case for everyone, which I will explain here in a bit, I do think that Turo is still an incredible opportunity. Turo is an incredibly lucrative and scalable side hustle that you can turn into a legitimate business. And as someone who has in my teenage years and early 20s tried virtually every side hustle that has ever existed, I can speak very confidently to the fact that there are very few side hustles out there that are as legitimate and lucrative as Turo is. I firmly believe that if you're interested in getting into Turo and you buy the right car at the right price, you will be nearly guaranteed to make money. And I think as far as guaranteed income goes, Turo is basically as close as you can get to that. While my fleet hasn't really grown this year due to losing a ton of cars to total loss accidents and also us allocating funds to our out-of-state Airbnb, we are putting the framework into place with my Turo fleet to really grow a lot in 2025, We've purchased 2 cars in the last month and probably will purchase 1 more by the end of the year. We also hired a full-time salaried employee whose main role is to help with the Turo fleet, which is truthfully something I would have never even considered doing if I didn't think that Turo was viable moving forward. Turo has also allowed me to own a fleet of cars. My husband has one of his dream cars, a 2020 GT500. I drive a Tesla Model 3 Performance I paid for in cash, and we just paid off our 2018 Lincoln Navigator L, as well as purchasing a second rental property just a couple of months ago. These are all things that would not be possible without Turo. Turo has in large part given me the life that I have now, and not only is that something that I'm incredibly grateful for, but it's also something that I think is sustainable long term. And while there are many things that Turo has done this year that I just simply don't agree with, it would be incredibly short-sighted of me to say that Turo is no longer a good side hustle because of these changes. Because the truth is, I don't think that this is the case for most people. If you want to become a Turo host and you are really ready to commit to that side hustle, then I fully, wholeheartedly believe that Turo is still a great side hustle. And I'm not just a YouTuber who's telling you this while also not practicing it. I am truly practicing what I preach, and I am actively growing my own Turo fleet. But this is where I'll segue into some of the negative things that I do have to say. Turo has made a ton of anti-host policies this year, and to me, it's very obvious that they're priming themselves to go public, so they're making these changes in preparation for that. Financially speaking, Turo also has had a pretty bad 2024, and so I think we're also seeing some of the repercussions of that as well. Some of these changes that have been implemented this year are changes that I don't necessarily agree or disagree with, while some of them are ones that I adamantly disagree with. To name some of these policy changes, we have auto trip acceptance, meaning you can no longer approve or deny a trip from a guest. Automatic trip modifications, meaning a guest can modify a trip and you have no say in either accepting or denying that. More scrutiny around maintenance. Implementing mileage limits with questionable structures surrounding it. More scrutiny around reviews, making it more important than ever to get good reviews, but also making it harder to get retaliatory reviews removed. And making it harder to get all-star hosts, which will impact power host rankings, which will impact things like Turo search, customer support, and even damage claims. I've made multiple videos talking about how I feel about these individual Turo policies, so I'm not really going to dive into that in this video, but I will have a few links down in the description below if you do want to check them out. I had mentioned earlier that I think that if you're really ready to commit to Turo, Turo is still a great side hustle. But where I think Turo may no longer be worth it is if you're just a casual host. And I think that these Turo policy changes have made it increasingly difficult for a casual host to succeed. I also think that these changes make it a lot harder for hosts that don't want to do remote key exchanges, which is something that I'm a huge advocate for. I think that if you want to get involved with Turo, you have to do it with remote key exchanges. But the reality is these changes have just made it hard for people who aren't fully committed to Turo. Sure, there are workarounds to all of these policy changes that I've just talked about, and I plan on working around every single one of them myself. But if you're just a casual host who's dipping your toe into the Turo waters, you may not have an interest in working around them, and you may find that Turo just is no longer worth it. The truth is, I think now more than ever, Turo just isn't as attractive as an option for extra income if you are someone who is a casual host. I've said this before on my channel, but I say it a lot to my course members, and that is if you're serious about Turo, I recommend trying to get to 4 cars as fast as possible. Not only is it so that you can reach things like All-Star and Power Host, but it's also so that you can start making meaningful income from your cars. I actually believe that as a Turo host, one of the worst places you can be is someone with just 1 car. With 1 car, you can make some great extra income, but it isn't going to be enough to be earth-shattering, and for many people, 1 car becomes more of an inconvenience, especially with these new Turo changes. It makes it hard for people who just want to try Turo casually and just want to do it with 1 car, which is why I think in many cases, if you're someone who's just looking for a casual side hustle and you don't have a particular interest in Turo, scaling a fleet, or cars, I don't know that Turo is the best side hustle for you anymore. I also think that now more than ever, it is incredibly important to buy the right cars for your Turo fleet. Over the summer, we saw thousands of cars get enlisted from Turo due to maintenance concerns. Some of these cars were older, some of them were not. And while I actually was not affected by this massive listing, despite the fact that I have all older cars, I know many people who were, and many of these people still had cars that had loans out on them, and many of them were actually underwater on their vehicles as well. Meaning that these people bought cars for Turo, they took out debt and loans for them, they were underwater on their cars, and the source of income that they depended on in order to pay for these cars has now disappeared. That's a terrible situation to be in. No matter how big you are on Turo, you will never have full 100% control of your fleet, and I think that this summer, many hosts learned that the hard way. And I think it really showed everyone is that if you want to get started with Turo and if you want to scale your fleet, you really have to make sure to do it in a very strategic way. So do I think that Turo is the right side hustle for everyone in 2025? No. If you're someone who's looking for a casual way to make a few extra $100 per month, then I truly think that Turo probably isn't the right route for you. If you aren't interested in cars, you don't want to learn about depreciation and how to buy cars the right way, I actually think that you should avoid Turo at all costs. But if you're looking for a legitimate way to grow a side hustle hustle and possibly turn it into a full-fledged business, I think Turo is awesome. And I think the space of car sharing is a space that's going to continue growing because I think the need that car sharing brings, it's a real one. Now, I said earlier in the video that I want to touch on my own personal Turo plans, and while I don't plan on going in depth about this in this video, because I do have a full-fledged video coming out about this in a couple of weeks, I do want to at least touch on it. Now, as I mentioned, we just hired a full-time employee to help us with our Turo fleet, something I would have never done had I not planned to grow with Turo. Turo has treated me really well, and I have historically made great money through Turo, and I still do today. In fact, if I look at my income statistics on a per vehicle basis, my income is relatively flat per car, but has obviously grown as my fleet has grown. This is great news, and it shows me that the amount of days that my cars are booked out and the amount of money I'm making per day, it actually hasn't gone down, which was actually a concern of mine earlier this year as these Turo policy changes took place, as Turo has grown, and as my own cars have gotten older. But the changes that I've seen with Turo over the last year has really pointed out a weak spot in my business, and a weak spot that I just feel uncomfortable with given the fact that I now have a full-time employee, and my husband and I also rely on our Turo income to live and to use for other investments as well. And that is relying on Turo for 100% of our rental car income. And so with that being said, in 2025, one of the things that we do plan to implement is doing direct rentals. Something I've in the past said I'm not interested in doing, but one thing that 2024 has taught me is that if I want to grow my fleet to 50 plus cars, diversification is important. And while I have no plans to leave Turo, and I do still plan to grow my Turo fleet, I do plan on growing a separate direct rental fleet that will be used exclusively for direct rentals, which is something that I'm truthfully very excited about, and for a few reasons. Number one, to be able to diversify my fleet, to get cars that I think will do really well and not necessarily ones that purely adhere to the Turo terms of service. This is something that I'm excited about. Secondly, I'm excited to open up my YouTube channel to another form of content, talking about direct rentals and my experience with it. But third, and honestly most importantly, I'm excited to update the car sharing masterclass with this new avenue of car sharing. We are actually already working on the third iteration of the car sharing masterclass. Once my team and I get direct rentals up and going, and once we feel as though we can speak from a space of authority in this market, we will absolutely be updating the car sharing masterclass with everything that we've learned in the direct rental space. And so come probably the end of 2025, not only will you be able to learn how to start a Turo and get around fleet through the car sharing masterclass, but you'll also be able to learn how to start a direct rental fleet as well. And so providing more value to my course members, that's something that I'm super pumped about, because truthfully, this is a question that I've been getting all the time for years now, and I'll finally be able to speak to my experience about direct rentals, which hasn't been the case in the past. So there you guys have it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.